All right, let me just switch over the graphic and give me a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 whenever you're ready, Andrew.
Sure.
Yep, go ahead.
In a 5, 4, 3. Today is November 18th, 2013.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bad Communication Netcast.
From Osaka, I'm Andrew Hawkins.
And coming to you from the lovely city of Tokushima, my name is Hiroki Matsouchi.
And from Tokyo, I'm Alex Kobayashi.
And today, Anime Lies.
Oh my god, you guys, cartoons aren't real?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
What? Really?
Or
What?
are they?
That's news to me. Yes, so welcome to episode number 165 of the Bad Communication Netcast, the video netcast all about Japan. And we're going to talk a little bit about anime and why Japan is not, in fact, the spitting image of your favorite anime series, despite what you might think. Anyway, how are you guys doing today? Feeling a little bit sleepy myself, but got a nice can of black coffee.
That's nice.
I know how much you despise the canned coffee, Andrew.
Actually, I found the Ely branded canned coffee in a vending machine.
Is it any good?
It's loaded full of sugar like all of the other ones, but it's not bad.
Is it?
I don't know if it's the aluminum tang or the... I don't know what it is exactly. It's been sitting around too long. It's what makes canned coffee so canned tasting?
It's funny. I usually don't have that much of a problem with like the sweetened ones with milk and such in can, but the black coffee definitely does have a bit of a tinge to it, aluminum tang. Anyway, that aside, canned coffee aside, how are you guys doing these days?
Well, thanks to a recent sinus infection, I now have a golden voice.
Yes.
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 It's very deep and raspy,
Yeah.
enhanced by my microphone.
Yep. That's how you get the ladies, right? How are you
Nice.
doing, Alex, these days?
Alright. Been playing lots of video games.
Yeah, League of Legends you're playing,
Yes, League of Legends and Pokemon and whatever I can get my hands on.
right? LOL.
League of Legends, that's one I haven't gotten into.
Yeah, I see you in chat pimping it hard,
come.
trying to get everybody
You guys should play too.
League of Legends.
It'll be awesome.
I love it how World of Warcraft is abbreviated WoW and League of Legends is abbreviated LOL.
LOL. Yep.
LOL. Anyway, guys, shall we jump right into the stories of the day so I can finish up the show and go take a nap?
Alright, so the hot topic of today is anime is full of lies. That Akihabara is actually ugly and boring. Well, Chinese netizens say. So, if anime culture were a religion and Tokyo's Akihabara or Akiba district, that would be its holiest site. They have maid cafes, manga shops, cute moe, cartoon girls plastered everywhere, and it's usually a must-go site for any otaku or anime geek. But Chinese netizens on a recent pirated anime hosting site,
Yep.
there was a thread saying that Japan is using anime to make other countries think it's cool and beautiful, and it's actually really boring.
And ugly.
What? So, on this thread, after watching a lot of anime, they concluded that Japan portrayed in anime is not the same as the real one. They've made anime Japan much prettier. Well, okay, I'll give them that. Media tries to make things look nice and stuff. But, along with those complaints were, there are not so many good-looking people. They don't look like they do in anime. A lot of girls have daikon legs or giant radish-like legs.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's kind of cute. I like it.
Chinese guys
that-
they like skeleton, they like pencil thick legs.
Apparently.
Well, I think it's just they don't look anything like anime characters. But isn't it like physically? I'm pretty sure it's physically impossible to have a human being that looks like your typical anime character.
And I mean, the average femur is quite a bit. not the femur, but the the thigh is quite a bit thicker than a daikon even.
Yeah.
You're talking about the calves? Anyway.
Well, I mean, I think that's just an expression that means kind of like short, stocky legs instead of incredibly disproportionately long, pencil-thin legs like they have in anime.
Yeah, because that's totally ideal, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, one last complaint is that Akihabara is not really that interesting, and maid cafes are not that cool. Let the flame wars start.
Yeah, exactly. I know a few people on the top of my head would take personal offense to that. The comebacks were pretty funny though.
Yes.
Let's go ahead.
Let's see. So yeah, the Japanese response was kind of predictable, confusion mixed with some anger. Some people were like, "There's no human being that could possibly look like an anime character. Duh. Why would you go looking for pretty girls in Akihabara?"
Yeah, they're all in Shibuya. What's wrong with you?
That's a good question. Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen some nice looking girls in Akihabara too.
No, they're everywhere in Tokyo.
Yeah. I don't know where they're looking.
The last two are pretty funny.
And so should we start criticizing kung fu movies for their inaccuracies?
Oh, snap. See, I'm going to go to China now, and I'm going to come back, and I'm like, yeah, people totally weren't flying all over the place.
Yeah, like hovering on bamboo stalks. And
disappointment.
Drunken
And last
laughter.
one. I'm pretty sure the Chinese Communist Party tries to beautify Chinese history.
Oh, double snap.
Oh, snap. Zing on that last one, as the article says. It's kind of ridiculous. I can't imagine anybody actually believing that Japan or Akihabara is as it's depicted in cartoons, of all things. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you watch, like, Black Rain, and you think that Tokyo is, like, a seedy underbelly of Yakuza crime.
That was actually Osaka.
That was Osaka. Okay, Osaka's a seedy underbelly of Yakuza crime.
I know most people would probably make that assumption, seeing as Tokyo is the center of everything.
But on the other hand, I mean, there's nothing... There are very few things that are more further removed than animated series in most cases. I mean, like, you don't go watching the movie Akira and thinking that giant...
Oh, that's totally...
giant mutant telekinetic monsters are running around the city.
But that was supposed to be in the future.
Okay, all right. Post-apocalyptic.
Not the
Tokyo.
far future. Oh, well, actually, it's probably the past by now, isn't it?
Maybe. I don't know.
When was Akira set? 2018?
I have no idea.
I don't know. According to
don't
its
remember
timeline, Tokyo blew up in the 80s. So
Yeah, it takes place in like post World War III, right?
yeah, it's dated already.
Well, anyway, yeah, Japan is not. It's not all ninjas and karate kids and karate masters and anime girls. Unfortunately, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to our next story. This one's a little bit politically charged.
Yeah. Speaking of people giving other people the finger, the government has unpinned Google Maps for the top design prize. So I guess every year, maybe every year, on a regular basis, the Japanese government hands out the prestigious Good Design Grand Award. And even though people voted most for Google Maps, the government decided not to give it to Google Maps. And the speculation is that the officials didn't want to give it to Google Maps due to their labeling of the disputed territories of Japan. So it's been given out for 50 years, and an average of 1,000 entries receive the award each year, but only one gets the most prestigious Good Design Grand Award, also known as the Prime Minister's Award. After being nominated by judges and the public, the government said no. And they think that's why. Of course, they don't say why. I just think it's kind of funny that you could have a supposedly democratic process where people, by a popular vote, choose what they think the best is, and then one person at the top is like, yeah, no.
Well, I mean, it's always been open. Yeah. Well, it's always been open to veto. But, at the same time, the article goes on to say that pretty much every year they agree with the popular vote. Okay, but it was like...
This is the first time they didn't.
Yeah. Do you guys... All right. This is kind of going back a bit of a ways, but do you guys remember TRL? The
Total Request Live?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Is that show still on with Carson Daly? Dude's got to be pretty old by now.
No.
All right.
I don't know. I remember I hated it because they only showed like 2-minute clips of every video.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was kind of the point of the show.
It was like the only thing that played actual music on MTV, and they only did parts of it.
Okay, so do you guys remember back in the day? This is a long time ago when Tom Green was really popular.
Yeah.
And do you remember the song he produced called the Bum Bum song?
Yep.
Okay, and he lobbied all of his diehard fans to vote on TRL to get the Bum Bum song to #1. Do you guys remember this?
I don't remember. I remember the Bum Bum song, but I don't remember this incident.
Okay, so this song apparently actually did make it to the #1 chart on TRL, and it's such a horrible song. It's such an awful song, but because of its meme status, it stayed up there. And I don't know after how many weeks, but they actually eventually decided to just pull the plug, despite the fact that it was still winning the popular vote as the most popular song on TRL. It's kind of the same idea. But, you know, going back to the story, I did pull up a little bit of information on this. I was surprised. So Japan calls the islands the Senkaku Islands, and China calls the disputed islands the Dayudao Islands.
And Google tries to take the compromise route and put a slash between the two names.
Yeah. I thought that was...
They're both listed on the map.
I thought that was a pretty democratic way of doing it. I mean, they listed both of the names. They even put the Liancourt rocks, which is another name for them. Anyway,
Liancourt rocks, isn't that Takeshima?
Oh yes, that's right. Those are the disputed islands with Korea.
Right.
Anyway, moving on to our next story. Why don't we get through one more before we hit the break? This one comes to us via Engadget and is titled "Sony sells over 1 million PlayStation 4 consoles in the first 24 hours." Woohoo! Good job. And how many of those sales happened in the country of Japan?
0. Well, maybe a couple. I don't know. Somebody probably imported one.
Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of big news. So the article goes on to say that there was little doubt that the PlayStation 4 would sell well on launch given the sheer amount of hype, but now we have proof. Sony has revealed that it sold over 1 million PS4s in North America, during the console's first 24 hours of availability. It's not Black Friday. It's not quite the holiday shopping season yet, but still it's doing pretty well. Of course, this kind of pales in comparison to like smartphone launches and the like. But still, it's moving them pretty close, or a lot closer to their goal of 5 million units before the end of fiscal year in March. I've been watching a lot of videos about the PS4, and it looks like a pretty impressive piece of tech. I'm not too, I'm kind of indifferent about all of the social features and the sharing features, not being a person who ever really cared that much about the social features of gaming, but it does look like a pretty spiffy machine. And at $400, I'm actually thinking about picking one up. I don't know.
It rolls out here in February.
Yep.
I don't know. They kind of neutered a lot of the media features about it. Like, it doesn't support DLNA streaming.
Okay, so no media streaming, right?
No media streaming. There was something else. I can't quite remember what.
But you remember with the PS3, like...
But I remember those things with the PS3 they rolled out after firmware updates. So, I mean, it's not out of the question. It's just not planned for the launch.
Yeah, well, you remember the PS3 at first didn't support AVI files, for example, and then they added that feature to all of the movie pirators' delights.
I mean, all of those things are software. Right. So it's just a firmware change they have to make.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool for me. It's fantastic that all these gaming consoles are becoming like the centers of your media.
Right.
Your entertainment system. And that's really cool, but it's actually nice to see the fact that PlayStation's actually emphasizing gaming. And I mean, that's the main reason why I would shell out the $400 for
I'm kind of curious about the Vita TV, because according to the release, it's supposed to, when the PS4 comes out here, it's supposed to be able to stream games from the PS4 to another computer in the house, or another monitor in the house.
Is this like the whole second screen thing?
No, like say if somebody's using your main TV, you can just use the Vita TV to play your PS4 games in another room.
On like a tablet or?
On another TV that it's attached to.
So wouldn't you have to have like a separate device, like a, video or audio receiver that plugs into the TV?
Well, that's what the Vita TV is. Mm-hmm. It's a tiny little box. It's actually a PlayStation Vita that needs a monitor, which on its face doesn't sound very cool.
PlayStation Vita that needs a monitor. So it's like a PS4 Mini almost then.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Vita TV.
Yes, Sony's doing all sorts of cool stuff with like the second screen. I really like the idea of the tablet. The reviewers are saying the integration with tablets is pretty lackluster at this point, but you know it's just all stuff that can be fixed with software upgrades.
Development, yeah.
And the hardware does look pretty kick-ass. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break, but we've got some great stories on the other side. So yeah, stick around. We will see you guys in just a few minutes. See you in a bit. Bye.
Welcome back to the Bad Communication Netcast.
Welcome back, guys. I was reading chat. Levin has pointed out that the PS Vita already has streaming features. I guess that's streaming games from your PlayStation 3. Is that right? Or streaming content from your PlayStation 3?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they always had, like, Sony was pushing location-free TV for a while.
Right.
And I think, I remember being able, with my old PSP, I don't think it was quite powerful enough to play games, but you could access the PS3's media bar wherever you were, as long as you had an internet connection and it was set up.
Right, so you could stream content stored on your PlayStation to your phone, you know.
Well, to my PSP.
Oh, okay, to your PSP.
This was in the days before smartphones.
When you're on the go, for example.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty kick-ass if you had video games.
I think, yeah, they also had game streaming from the PS3, but now it's going to support PS4 as well.
Oh, that's
so
pretty
you
cool.
can.
Sounds a lot.
And, I mean, there's some issues with the control setup because the PS4 controller is not the same as the Vita, for example. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the PS4 controller, the DualShock, I think is the DualShock 4 now? They're up to? Has what?
Yeah.
2 left and right triggers, as well as a whole slew of other buttons.
Touchpad too.
The touchpad. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. Are you guys gonna pick one up? It's $400. It's a little bit expensive, but
I've got other stuff to spend money on right now.
okay.
Yeah, we still have time to think about it.
Yeah, it's February we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Although if you want to go out and get a new Vita or a Vita TV, you can do that right now.
What do you think the impetus behind? I mean, obviously, the reason why they released it now in the U.S. is because they want to get, they want to take advantage of the holiday shopping season. But I mean, why didn't they? Why do you guys think they didn't have a nationwide or a worldwide release? Do you think it was just component availability? Like
the excuse they gave is that the games weren't ready for the Japanese market.
Right. I mean, that's what they said. They said they wanted to release the console with the full complement of games and provide the best gaming experience for the Japanese market. But I mean, that sounds like marketing BS, doesn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they couldn't.
A lot of people were pissed off about that. The fact that
for some reason they didn't think it was ready in time. So I guess.
I was wondering if it was like a supply issue or something like that. Anyway, jumping to our next story. This is talking all about food.
Yum.
This is actually the deep dark secret to why you should eat wasabi with your sushi and other 10 Japanese food pairings.
Yeah, it's funny. Growing up, my father always said, like, I know that you don't like wasabi, but you should definitely eat it with raw fish. And this is why, apparently.
Okay, so Japan takes its traditions very seriously, especially with Japanese food. And a lot of things are paired together. And what you probably didn't know is that a lot of these actually have health benefits to these standard combinations. So it's like sushi and wasabi, for example. The wasabi actually, along with softening the smell of the fish and giving you more flavor, also has suppressing microbes and bacteria, which can... Wait, it's it's effective in suppressing microbes and bacteria that can cause food poisoning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you eat wasabi, you have less chance of getting food poisoning, apparently.
Yeah,
So,
it's an antiseptic, I guess.
so eat away. There's a bunch of other ones. Did anyone catch you guys' interest, I guess?
The wakame and miso soup was pretty interesting.
Let's see. So, along with being delicious, the seaweed in the soup also helps reduce blood pressure and sodium levels in the body, because, well, miso soup has high sodium content.
Yeah, this is actually quite interesting. There are a few combinations that I didn't really know about. Another one of the interesting ones was beer and edamame. I always thought that was just a really nice,
Just tastes good.
nice combination of food. Yeah.
There's science behind it. What does it have? It has vitamins B1, C, which help in processing alcohol in the liver.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So eat
Amazing.
away, or
Ye-
eat and drink away.
You know, this reminded me. It's not wakame, but a different kind of kelp called kombu, which is used to make the Japanese soup stock called dashi.
Yeah.
That was actually the original source of the extremely widely used and much reviled in some quarters MSG. The impetus for the discovery of MSG was kombu, was seaweed.
Is there some like chemical or agent in kombu that
It's
enhances the
glutamate.
flavor?
It's glutamate, which is an amino acid, which stimulates certain receptors of the taste buds that other things don't. And glutamate is natural in a lot of different foods, tomatoes, for example. But the guy who discovered MSG, the impetus was eating his wife's dashi, his wife's miso soup, and he asked, "Why does it taste so good?" And she pointed to the kombu. He's like, there's something there.
No way. I had no idea. MSG
Yeah.
isn't MSG sodium glutamate though?
Monosodium glutamate. It's glutamate that's been stabilized with sodium
Ah, interesting.
so that it's easy to powder up and season things with.
Do you guys use MSG at home?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? I mean,
Yeah, Aji no Shio, it's awesome.
growing up, I just have memories of like specifically Chinese food takeout places having big signs in the windows that say "No MSG" or "We do not use MSG."
Yeah, that's a good example of a mass hysteria.
Well, I mean, I do remember kind of hearing, never reading or reading any empirical studies about things like MSG eroding your stomach lining, which seemed quite suspicious to me, as well as some other health ill effects. But
No, they've never found any substantial evidence that it has any ill effects like that. It's just people's claims.
really, huh? Yeah, no, I was quite surprised when I went to an okonomiyaki.
And if somebody tells you, "Oh, MSG is bad for you," then you just say, "Oh, well, stop eating tomatoes then."
Fair enough.
There's several sources of natural glutamate.
Well, I think I still have one of those MSG shakers somewhere around here.
Time to start using it.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, moving on to the next article. This is less than an article and more of some kind of eye candy. It comes to us via Engadget, and this is my next car, if I can afford it. It's a Nissan's Blade Glider.
Wow.
Excuse me, an electric sports car fit for a superhero. So it's the Batmobile. It's a Star Wars fighter. No, it's actually the Nissan's Blade Glider. So, of course, this is a concept car. But apparently, the company claims that it is close or closer to actual production than your typical concept car. So it has a futuristic, very sleek design. It's made with lots and lots of expensive and light carbon fiber. And it looks like a rocket, and it's got these really cool, like, Lamborghini-style, not gull-wing doors, but kind of rotating doors. And it's all electric, which is really cool because you get tons and tons of torque. Powered by lithium-ion batteries, which means it probably has about a 5-year lifespan. But hell, if you've got that much money to spend on a car like this, you probably don't care so much about the fact that you have to throw this car out in about 5 years. And it's a hell of a lot cooler than their much more economical Leaf electronic vehicle.
You know, I've been thinking about the Honda Fit EV because I'm without the means for these super fancy cars here.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the Leaf and the Tesla Roadster or the Tesla S, it's not built from the ground up. As an electric car, it's a regular car that's been refitted to be electric.
Yeah.
And it's gotten really good reviews.
Yeah.
The interior is a little bit sparse, but I mean, everything is compared to a Tesla.
So I've mentioned this before on the show tons of times. I'm a huge fan of the idea of electric cars, but at the same time, there's one really, really big problem with them, and that's the battery. The battery is great when you first buy it. However, after repeated recharges and discharges, the capacity gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And a lot of people are saying that, they're hybrids, like the Prius, for example. The battery gets shot after about 5 years, at which point, replacing the battery, it's almost tantamount to purchasing a new car. And that's the thing that, if I did have the money to spend on an electric vehicle, would prevent me from doing so.
Well, that's curious, because Honda is only leasing the Fit EV stateside. They're not selling it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
not,
that's the reason why.
that very well might be. It's not
Because
like
once the lease is up, they're like, okay, take it back now.
Well, you remember there was kind of a bit of controversy about the Nissan Leaf when it was first released. So I think the original claim was you could get about 200 kilometers on a single charge. However, a lot of people were complaining about the fact that specifically in the owner's manual it says if you want to increase the life of the battery, you should never charge it beyond 80%. Yeah. Apparently, you're not supposed to top off the battery if you want to. Yeah, maintain the health of the battery. Apparently, it's the same thing with laptop computers and cell phones. A lot of people believe that cell phones and all these little mobile devices should have electronic kill switches to stop charging 80%. Unless, of course, you want that extra 20% of battery power. Additionally, sorry, go ahead.
Continue. Finish what you were going to say.
Additionally, the 200-kilometer range cited by Nissan is only if you're driving under optimal conditions. So if you turn on the headlights, it's going to decrease. If you turn on the air conditioner or heater, it's going to decrease.
Well, yeah, because there's no alternator.
Yeah. So, I mean, people were getting the car thinking they could drive 200 kilometers and finding out that realistically they could only do maybe 150 if they wanted to maintain the life of their car.
They didn't have climate control in the stereo blasting.
Right. Or headlights.
Well, another thing, these things seem to spread like memes, and they don't have any evidence backing them. Have you ever heard that it's best to wind your phone's battery all the way down to 0 and then charge it back up again in order to maximize its life?
Oh, like fully discharge and then...
Yeah, fully discharge and then fully recharge.
I remember reading about fully discharging laptop computers, not because it preserves battery life, but because it calibrates the battery meter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could make sense.
But beyond...
Well, I read elsewhere that you should never discharge a lithium-ion pack less than 40%.
Really?
That they should be charged early and often to maximize their life.
Huh.
I think I heard that too. Yeah, fully discharging can...
And I asked a guy who happened to work for Sanyo's lithium battery division, and he says, yeah, it's really, really bad to fully discharge the battery.
The article I read... where
I don't know who to believe about these things.
Okay. The article...
They take on kind of a tribal... It's like, oh, yeah, you got to do that.
Well, you guys...
It's the best thing for your device.
Did anybody in your family ever put batteries in the refrigerator in an effort to preserve the battery life? No?
Maybe.
That was definitely a thing. Putting alkaline batteries in the fridge was a way to preserve their lives. Okay, so the article I was reading, it was a blog dedicated entirely to battery technology. This is where I picked up the whole "don't charge it above 80% thing. The whole gist of the article was anytime you reach one of the extremes, either if it's extreme charging or extreme discharging, it somehow affects the chemical reaction in the battery, and that's what decreases the life. So yeah, I guess it would make sense. Although I guess if you have to say below 80 and above 40%, you don't really have that much to work with, do you?
No.
No, not at all.
I guess the idea is to just charge it whenever you can.
Right. But anyway, I mean...
If you're not using it, put it on a charger.
Most people, I think, they get rid of their phone after what?
But you see, I can't... My smartphone's battery lasts me... Okay, it gets me through the workday if I don't use it too much.
I could easily eat through my cell phone's battery in about maybe 3 or 4 hours if I'm
So
watching a
like
movie.
charging it every time it gets down to 40% is kind of out of the question.
Right.
I guess it's just a fact that I'm probably going to get a new phone before the battery life
Yeah. Well, I mean,
shoots.
that's the thing. Like with these kind of gadgets, like cameras or cell phones, you can either replace the battery after a couple years, or you're probably going to get a new one before the battery completely gets shot. But I mean, if you're buying a car, that's an investment.
Yeah, a car's more of a long-term investment.
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is maybe why Honda's going with the lease-only option
right.
for their Fit EV.
I mean,
so that they can just swap them out when the lease expires.
right. I mean, again, I think that the whole idea of an electric car is so cool. Like never having to go to a gas station and recharging or filling up your car at your house. I just like that idea.
Well, unless you've got the Tesla, they max out at 90 miles an hour, which, I mean, unless you're a chronic speeder, is not a big deal. But
Right.
driving it on the freeway is going to shoot the battery
Right.
even faster. And you're not going to get that far anyway. So, I mean,
Well, no,
if
no.
you only do city driving, then the EV is the way to go.
Right. It's all about distance, I think, or how much you commute per day. Anyway, guys, we just blew past the 30-minute mark, so we got to wrap up the show. But if you guys want to find our show notes with links to all of the articles we talked about today, you can find it on our blog, badcommunicationjapan.com. And don't forget, we are live every week at this same time. Yeah, so thank you guys very much for watching the show. So as always, we do have to get the hell out of here for now. So once again, my name is Hiroki Matsuuchi.
And I'm Andrew Hawkins.
And I'm Alex Kobayashi.
Hopefully no echo. Bad jokes, good conversation, and as always, the news out of Japan. See you guys next week. Later.